Hopefully I'm live now. I feel like I just want to get hold of my mouse and move it. I was meant to be on the Richie Allen radio show right now, but couldn't get through because couldn't download Chrome here in Bali, but then managed to do it, and then he was halfway to Tesco's. So we'll do it another day, maybe Thursday or next Monday or something. But it's all good because it means I've got time to talk to you. I've listened back to the playback of the last video that I've just done here with my new little mixer deck and microphone, and it sounded okay. It didn't sound bad. It did go off. The camera froze, but the words were still coming out correctly, which was a really good thing. I don't really know if anybody is on live. Yeah, we've got somebody here. Morning, Mark. Good morning. It's like Karen. Good morning. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Get comfortable, Mark. Oh, get comfy. Oh, it's lovely to be back anyway. It's lovely to be here talking from Bali. This is called the rainy season. So guess what? It rains. It's rained for 3 solid days. So if you want to get out, you've got to get out in a car. Or if you're getting out on your motorbike, you've got to put your rain suit on. Anyway, it's give me time to start working on my new book called The Power of Moldavite. New, it's over 22 years. I meant to have started it 22 years ago. So I'm going to start afresh. I'm not going to look at all the writing I've done. I'm going to start afresh because it's irrelevant. All of that, I think, is irrelevant now to what Moldavite is right now. But anyway, hey ho, 11 beautiful souls on. Don't ever tell me I'm not shadow banned. But here goes. Let's have a look. Let's have a good look, shall we? Let's do a breakdown of this week's news. All right, let me have a look then. Let me have a look. This one's good. I like this one because it's the closest thing, and it looks like it's done ages ago. But let's listen to it, shall we?
Your boyfriend is a feminist?
That's not it.
Sure.
That's it.
A man falls to a woman, so he falls in love, but a woman falls in hate and power. A woman loves that power because for a woman to respond, see, when he sees a weak man, it's like a card shark. When the card shark sees a nice sucker, something in him responds to the weakness, and see, because there's a pride in there that sees an easy meal, an easy mark. There are people like that all over the society. They're excited when they see something weak. Well,
First of all, that is correct, but he's referencing to women, and that's not correct. What he should have said is that for every human being, this is a characteristic, and he's only just seen a micro spasm or a micro dot of, and he's put the pieces together, and I think that is got wrong. But listen carefully, it's really interesting. Forget the woman bit. Just listen to what he's got to say. Don't get offended. Don't get worried. Don't, like, if he'd have said it about men, I would have like, okay, let me listen. Just listen to it. But forget the woman. We know what he's talking about. I think you know what he's talking about. But let's just continue.
Within a woman, because she's hated her father, she's separate from God. And the only fulfillment she can find now is the fulfillment of a fallen man by serving a fallen man. Then she feels she has a place.
Yeah, that I have no idea what he's talking about there. I know what he's talking about, but it makes no sense. But just keep listening.
See that she's needed. Right? Finally, yes, sir. Over there.
It's very crippling to the male child to observe that relationship between his mother and his father.
Absolutely.
And now I'm to the point where I can see through all that. And when I call my mother on it, like I'm no longer going for her program, then she says that I'm nuts. That who put that in your head? She'll
right.
Say.
She doesn't want you to. She doesn't want to be exposed.
Right.
Because that's the dark side of her.
Very dark.
Because she is dependent on power.
Yeah.
You see, because the woman that rises to the occasion of that man's need, or pressured to the occasion of that need by men, follow? Whichever occasion, the woman that succumbs to that to fulfill herself with a falling, with the substance of a man's failing. Do you understand what it is? Like an essence he gives off.
Right.
So again, forget the woman bit. It could be a man or a woman. But what he's just mentioned, and it's funny how he's said the word essence. What essence has been given off? Now, what have we been talking about? What do we know as healers that what happens when love and joy and happiness is seen and the partner does not want that? So they change that frequency to give off the essence of what the partner is needing. So they'll feed from them, right? Really interesting.
Alka-Seltzer in a glass of water gives off a nice refreshing fizz. Well, when a woman excites a man, when a woman responds to a man's need, there's a certain amount of energy that goes on there. And when a man loses himself in a woman, he's giving this, something goes out of him into this woman. And she's...
Yeah, something goes out of the man, which is the energy that has been changed from the heart, which is basically the battery life. The battery is giving off a different frequency that the woman feeds from now. So it's funny how we all see things differently, and actually there are no words, real words to explain this. That's why the problem with English language or any language is that whenever you're trying to discuss something which is beyond the beyond, it's practically impossible. So your words are just limited to the expression and the feeling of what you're trying to express through that experience. It's just, words are limited deliberately.
Not involved in sex so much. It's a mental thing with her. It's up here with her and down there with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she killed my
Because
father.
his brains are down there, if you know what I mean.
She actually killed my father. He died at the age of 57. Was a healthy man.
But all women, listen carefully. This is so scary. I'm bound to get a lot of hate mail. But women kill men, and then they die alone on this wretched earth.
She wants to kill me now.
Yes,
She's after me.
There's a definite compulsion to murder the innocence of their own children.
Yeah, no, I don't believe there's an essence to kill their own children. What we're talking about here is a set of spirits that reside in this world within the bodies. So his definition is all that he can see on a wavelength of psychology and understanding, and maybe a tad of spirituality. But if he really truly understood what the world is now and who we are as a human beings, that each body holds in general one spirit, and that spirit can either come from a place of love that feeds from love, that basically feeds from love. So if you're upset, that body, my body is not feeding. My body is actually feeling sick. There are spirits that reside within these bodysuits that actually feed from your sadness, from your grief, from your shock, from your fear, from your confusion, from whatever somebody's manipulating towards you. And you die, man or woman. No, mate, he's a bit biased, and we can see that, completely biased, because he's only seen it one way. That's why he's limited. But if you take away man, woman, and just see the body as a spacesuit, whether it's got genitalia or not, what's inside is what is. Right now, guys, we're at a point, and I've realized this, we're at a point now that if we do not acknowledge this conversation, then nothing's going to change. It's just going to keep going back to patterns and labels and religions. So who is inside that body? What spirit is driving that body? Because the body is simply a body. The name is simply a name. The eyes, the ears, the mouth, the legs, the hands. That's the body. That's got nothing to do with what's actually inside. We've been programmed, we've been trained, we've been abused and beaten to believe that this body, this name, these hands, these legs, this label is who I am. That's how evil has got away with it so long. Imagine when you're a healer and you can see, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you can be so deceived by people as well. You can be deceived until, wow, actions speak louder than words. The words are amazing. The words are, it's you, it's your fault. Everything you're doing is like, don't you see it's you? And spiritually speaking, when these spirits actually become aware of how to manipulate in the field of spirituality, when they learn that, they'll use that as well. Incredible how it works. Again, men and women. So you can call them narcissists, you can call them child sacrifice abusers, you can call them pedophiles, you can call them manipulators. They're just take all that away. Feel their soul. Are they a soul that feeds from love, or are they a soul that feeds from fear, anger, rage, resentment, bitterness, pain, suffering? You got to know who the spirit is within. This guy's kind of getting there, but again, limited to his understanding of anything.
In other words, this program this evening will probably receive so much call from the ladies in the audience who don't want their children to hear this tough sort of thing because they don't want to be discovered, because they are totally dependent upon the downfall of men. It is a spiritual something in women, some women.
He said some women. So he went from women to some women. But again, it's not just women. It's the male. And you can see that in animals too, guys. So I mean, there's some dogs out there who just want to kill every dog there is. And then there's some dogs who are just wanting love. There's some cats which are really lovely and don't want to fight. And there's some cats just want to kill anything. So it's what resides inside that is the key. That's why there's 57 people watching this now and not 3, 4, 5, 6,000.
And it is addicted to the prostitutes are very, I mean, you don't have to, you can be a wife whore and a whore, and you see, and a woman that sleeps around.
All right, I'm fed up of him. There's a lot of ego and bias in this guy. But again, like I said, everybody has a little understanding of something. Let's try something else.
I am no longer optimistic anymore. And the reason is very simple. Mm-hmm. The reason is because I'm afraid that these RNA vaccines, mod RNA vaccines, whatever you want to call them, have already done their job. And what their job has been, and this is incredible, was not even known to the planners, because
again, like, this guy's lovely, but I'm sorry, but what he's saying is that this isn't known to the planners. It was 100% known to the planners. It was 100%. Maybe they didn't. The way I saw it, was, and I made videos about this, when I closed my eyes and tried to meditate and ask spirit on it, what I saw was somebody holding a vial, and the vial was held out, and who was holding that vial out was somebody who was communicating to all the other companies, which, as you all know now, are all directed to the government, or which is all directed to the military industrial complex. That's basically what runs the world, that governs the world. And basically said, okay, guys, you've got all your stuff ready. We have. Okay, get it in this vial now. Put whatever you want in this vial, and we'll get it into humanity now. So nobody really knows what anybody else is doing, but it's fine because we've got the vial ready, and we know the plan is that we need to get humanity so that they're basically vibrating at the frequency that they want. That's the bottom line. They want you vibrating at a certain frequency. Why? So then you don't connect to the spirit. Your mind goes numb. You're just walking zombie. You can't think properly, and you're seeing it anyway. I don't even need to say it, but that's what I said about the vial. So what he's saying is that they don't know. They didn't know what would happen. Each one of these DARPA, all of these companies, which are a so-called vaccine, they all knew what they were doing. They had specific itinerary to their own. It's kind of like, as I saw it, was like they're all individual. They're all doing their own thing, just like the families that we speak about that are running this world, the bloodlines. That none of them really know each other, but they all know the common energy of their birth to their death is we need to cause destruction wherever we are. So wherever they're born, they cause the destruction, whether it's the killing of people via what so-called virus, or whether it's a bombing of a nation, or whatever that may be, whatever the cause, that the effect, they're all doing their job 24/7. So, but I like this guy. He speaks his truth, and what he speaks is what he knows, just like you and I.
What they were doing. But it is what I said years ago, that the vessels throughout the body are going to be attacked from top to toe. This is something that never happens in any disease. Okay, systemic, meaning the brain, the heart, the liver, everything can be attacked, the vessels. And the trouble is that it's turned out to be true. So this systemic vasculitis leads to destruction of brain cells, obviously. And that is what we are now experiencing. We're seeing, I'm afraid to say, billions of people whose brains are not working anymore, not as they should be. They are altered, and they do not have, they don't have the willpower anymore. They do not have the intelligence anymore to move things. Mm-hmm. And so the only chance we have is to stop this mod RNA.
Well, there's little chance of stopping anything because they will put it in whatever they want to put it in. Like when he talks about the only chances to stop, what are you going to do? You're going to fight against a global cult that run the world that, quite frankly, could just push a button and have him blown up tomorrow, and they don't because of certain reasons. But there is little hope for humanity unless we as the individual does something. The power is within us. That's the beautiful thing that they can't take away from us, even though you can definitely argue now, well, it doesn't matter, Mark, because they're putting it in our salad. They're putting it in, I'm just going to, I've got a toothache. No problem. Sit down. We're going to pull that out. By the way, we're just going to give you a little anesthesia in your mouth. We'll just numb it a little bit. There you go. They've got you again. So this is how they operate. They operate in every way, shape, and form. They're ahead by, I guess, 3 games of chess to your one move. So it is difficult. But again, when you say it's in your hands, I mean that by way of what you do, what you decide to do. On a daily basis, many, many people send me messages asking me what they should do for their children because they were injected and now they don't seem the same, blah, blah, blah. I'm a healer and I don't know. I have no idea. It's been 5 years now. What have I seen? I've seen the same as I did then, which is basically once administered, the body becomes a time bomb, and it kind of, it goes to the place where you're the most weakest. So it's important that you try and stay strong. You try and heal your body. You try and clear the metals from your body. There's a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon of making money, and they're saying that this is the protocol to clear it out of your body. Spike protein, I'm not sure. I've got to say, I haven't seen a full recovery. The guy downstairs, after taking the herbs that I recommended and using the oils, he's fine now. His feet were really, really bad, really bad. His feet were bad. His brain, he was like messed up. Now is a lot better, but I actually put that down to other things as well. He had one jab. I put it down to the asbestos on the roof. He worked with asbestos on his roof, and I kept saying to him, told him over and over again, you shouldn't be in here. You're getting sick because of the asbestos as well. I spoke to the landlord with regards to it because it's next door to me, and I said, that roof is first of all illegal. You need to take it down or you will be fined a lot of money. So as soon as he heard that, I think he had a thought about it, and then he changed it to plastic. Now the chair, and I said to Antonio, I said, don't be here when they're pulling it down. I don't care what you do. Wrap all your stuff up, but don't be here. Lock the doors there, but don't be here. And I said, how long is it going to take? He says, it'll take one full day. And I said, don't be here. I said, leave it till the next day and get somebody to vac it up. He says, oh, they'll vac it up. I said, okay, let them vac it up, right? And then come. And he said, why? I says, because I know how dangerous it is. My father-in-law died of a chest issue with all of that stuff. Anyway, I've seen a lot of people being really sick because they worked in the vicinity of asbestos. But yeah, interesting stuff, really. Let's move on, shall we? But yeah, I like this guy. I can feel the passion. I can feel the truth. There is no, thus far, I don't feel this guy is trying to do anything other than tell his truth. But yeah, I mean, we all have our take, right? You'll have your take and I'll have mine. So, oh, sorry, guys. Yeah, talking about, no, I've used a video just to point out something that he saw, but just a fraction of what he saw. So there's truth in a lot of stuff that people talk about, even though they might be like plonkers, idiots, or actually even bad people. So, you know, so yeah, I'm just pointing out video. I'm not saying, oh, listen to this guy. That's not what I did. So don't, just because I actually said the guy was a plonker. The guy is not a good energy, and I would never speak to that guy. But what he was talking about, there were certain things in there that he's nearly talking about something that, you know, like feeding, and that's all. But yeah, I'm sure I could have chosen a different video, but I didn't find one. So
Crime.
Anyway.
Because this crime is going to destroy us. The trouble is that they're rolling out this RNA vaccines all over the place, and people don't realize this is being done. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. I am no longer optimistic anymore.
Really?
And the reason is very simple.
I'd have to ask him, when were you optimistic?
Is because I'm afraid that these RNA vaccines, not RNA vaccines, whatever you want to call them, have already done their job.
Yeah, well, they have.
And what their job has been, and this is incredible.
Go on.
Was not even known.
Oh, okay. We're listening. Right, we've heard that already. You knew. I knew. There was a lot of people who knew, Doctor. So sorry, pal. There was a lot of people who knew well before. We could smell something. We could feel it. It was in our hearts. We knew it was wrong. We knew it was bad. We could feel it with all our hearts. you know, with all the doctors that came out and said they were unsure. We were well before that. We were saying, don't go near it. We knew well before, you know, all of them were saying it. If you remember, we were talking about this well before. This is why we got into so much trouble. So interesting, eh? I thought I'd recorded something else, which I thought was quite fascinating.
Pack a raincoat and a smile for a perfect trip with Agoda. Download Agoda app.
See what this one is.
Still waiting for your dream to come true? Maybe it's a tropical island or hot sands of a...
Let's listen to this one, shall we? Again, I don't know who this is, by the way, because I don't really watch too much.
These are texts written thousands of miles apart, thousands of years apart, with no way to influence.
I didn't touch anything, did I?
With no way to influence each other. And yet, somewhere between the lines, they're all whispering the exact same message. And it's not similar. It's not a kind of like message. It's the exact same 5 truths over and over. So this video isn't body language and persuasion, and it's definitely not about religion in any way. So if your level of certainty about the world is super high, this might itch a little, and you know that certainty in human behavior shows up when something needs to be protected. So you do not have to agree with any of this to get something powerful from it. All right. There's something worth considering regardless of your faith or your background. First, if God or ultimate truth is real, then it or he or she existed way before any book, any language, or one single tradition ever appeared, which means that truth wouldn't belong to just one place or one people. Second, when civilizations that are separated by oceans and centuries describe the same insights about reality and human nature and meaning, it suggests they were observing something universal rather than inventing something
or a conscious
locally.
Connection to spirit.
And just like
which
gravity existed before we ever had a name for it, and mathematics works the same everywhere on Earth, truth, and I mean truth with a capital T, doesn't change based on culture or belief. It just gets described through different and very flawed human lenses. This is one of the deepest spiritual experiences sound so unbelievably similar across traditions. And I think it's why history's greatest teachers didn't try to fracture humanity, but they tried to wake it up to something it already carried inside of it. Across every culture, every timeline, every belief system humans have ever built. When I first saw the pattern forming, it didn't feel like research in any way. It felt like finding a message that humanity buried, like fragments of a treasure map that we, as a species, were unconsciously developing.
Why would anybody try to bury something? Well, if you kill somebody, you want to try and bury them. If you don't want somebody to see something, you're going to bury it. So the reason why all the ancient texts, all the wonderful things that were written all over the world, they were buried deliberately. They were burned, and those that could and see through what was happening because of the monsters on this world, the evil souls of this world who wanted to run the world and run it by way of stealing your energy or making you into slaves. They had to get rid of that. They did not want the world to be, and this is a thing that people say all the time. Whenever I mention the word equal, people especially the ones who are the greedy ones. I've noticed that. They're greedy pigs. They're greedy pigs, right? Frightened to death of never having anything and still frightened to death when they have got something, right? They always say, equal. How can you be equal? Look at that boy on there, the dirt, eating the dirt in India. How can he be equal to me? Like, yeah, you are a dark soul. You're obviously a dark soul. Because equal to me and you is that we should all have a roof over our heads. We all should be able to drink natural flowing water. We all should be able to eat fruit and vegetables. We all should be able to at least have the bare minimum of having a happy and healthy life. Why isn't there? Because that will never happen, they say. Why won't it happen? Because it won't, because some people just don't want that. Like what? Like those beggars on the street. Hang on a minute. Who are those beggars on the street? What the fuck are you talking about? You. Now I'm realizing who these people are more every day. Them people on the street who were begging might have been war veterans who were pushed into having to kill and they didn't want to. People who were just torn apart in life because they could not fit in to this system that is being created to help evil souls grow, to protect evil from doing their evil work and bidding, to live a life and to be evil but pretend to be not, pretend to be the chosen ones and the perfect ones and the ones who deserve, they're more deserving. I'm starting to see through this now. I'm starting to see more and more of these people.
Some future generation to find. And I think there are a few things that nobody wants to be said out loud. First, if truth is real, if it's fundamental, it should show up everywhere. In every era, every tribe, every myth, every scripture, and I think that it actually does. But somehow,
every time we talk about that, we sometimes miss the opportunity and sometimes ignore the opportunity that Jesus was born as a miracle. Jesus was born in a manger, in a barn. Jesus was basically, he was born without conception. So he was a miracle. And then he grew up. And then he was killed. And then he was resurrected. That story is told 12 times prior to Jesus's story. The story was told 13 times. Jesus is just one of those stories. So that story was told 13 times in many other texts. So you would be able to argue, well, is that story real? Or is it just been, again, made up from another story to another story? I think a lot of stories are stories of past, and then they're just made up. That's my feeling anyway. Are they true? I don't know. My feeling about Jesus, that like, yes, there might have been a guy who walked on earth. He was a healer for sure. There's plenty of them, called whatever you want to call them. There's loads of healers in the world walking around right now. There was thousands of years. There's always been healers because there's good spirits that come into this world all the time. But the fact that, you know, when you look at like Jordan Maxwell's work and you talk about the sun not as the Father Son, but the sun in the sky, that rises and that dies for 3 days and then rises again. It's like it's a struggle to believe in the story of this one man. And they talk about all these scriptures and they're written by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And, you know, a lot of people write stories, guys. A lot of people write. Look at all the books in this world, but certain books are still like more popular than others. I mean, if you actually look at mainstream media, whatever they put out there to make popular, we've realized is a lie. So could it be that what they made popular because it was such a powerful book that would keep the people from knowing who they are, so that they would look up to somebody and say that you give me, help me, please. Like, hang on a minute. Haven't we figured out we're in 2026 that the power lies within you? Oh, but who do you think you are? Do you think you're a god? All of these things are deliberately done to stop us from attuning. You know, guys, I'll tell you just a little story. I haven't been able to attune really well for 8 years, and now I know why. But the other day, I started meditating, and the meditation was getting stronger, and like opening the third eye is different from everybody. I can't tell you how your third eye will open. Nobody can. I can help it open, for sure I can. I can use crystals on your third eye. I can massage your head. And this is a good point. After I meditated, I found a place. It was a very peaceful place. I started meditating. What's that film called where it's not Clash of the Titans? It's a guy who has to conquer and fight evil. And funnily enough, the evil is like a high priest who has snakes and sacrifices children. And he's on a mission, and his gift is to see through the eyes of animals. And how I like, the other day, my third eye started to open. So how did it work? I was having a very painful massage, very painful. It was called, it's a Swedish massage. And I said I wanted it strong because I know that I had a lot of knots and a lot of pain in the sense of trapped issues because of frustration, just out of life. So I was getting these knots being pulled like so painful. And then the guy went to my head and started doing some work at the back of my head and neck. My eyes were closed, and all of a sudden I started to see like this film. It's like a hawk looking out, and he could see through the hawk's eyes, or the lion and tiger's eyes. He can see through, and it's very much like that for me. And so my eyes are closed, and I can see the floor. And this like it's like starts to. It's like almost like a portal opening, and I can see the floor, but my eyes are closed. That's how I used to work when I was full-time healer. And I could do that quite easily. And I could see when my eyes were closed, energy. Fascinating. Anyway, I've gone off on one. Let's carry on.
I think we miss something. We get lost in the arguments about who's right. We get lost in the differences, the translations, the rituals,
all
the
by
politics,
design.
and the fear. We started defending our favorite book instead of noticing what all the books were trying to say. If you can imagine dozens of civilizations who never met, they never traded language, they never shared a single word with each other, all describing the same fundamental truths of reality, what would that mean? What would that force us to consider? Because if that's true, then the greatest spiritual secret on earth was never hidden at all. It was just scattered like a puzzle all across our species' story.
I don't think anything was scattered per se. I think a lot of good souls were trying to share their truth and wisdom and knowledge of this universal energy and truth, which is always around us. That's why a lot of people at certain times come up with the certain ideas to help shift the world and make the change.
And if all of those pieces could come together, we might see something pretty astonishing.
Well, that will never happen anyway, because the world has been brainwashed to have their own opinions and their own belief systems and their own politics. So it can never happen. That's the whole point of bringing a child into this world and making them straight away believe in something that somebody else wouldn't believe in, which is like your color, which is where you live, which is your belief system as a religion. All of that was deliberately done so that we could never come together and actually sit down and talk about the real reason why we're on this earth and what is the whole meaning of the experience on this planet. Plus the fact you've got evil spirits that reside in these bodies as well as good spirits. So you're already in a battle between light and dark. So the chances of actually coming together and illuminating the world, in my opinion, gets hijacked instantly, is deliberately hijacked by evil. If you are a good soul, you will get somebody coming into your life that will stop you from moving forward, even though they tell you that they don't. They will, and so on. There's always something stopping us in this world. This is part of the journey. Again, nobody talks about it. Only a few people I hear ever talk about that. But it's a thing, guys. It's a thing.
Big dreams start small. From getting your domain to creating your website, email.
Thing pretty astonishing. But before we talk about the message they left us, you have to understand why these truths.
Right. So what he's doing, okay, is making you want to listen to him, and for your program brain to go, tell me what it is, tell me what it is. You see, I believe that these people, again, like that disgusting man was talking about evil women, right? Saying they were all evil. He was, in his own way, doing the devil's work in the sense of evil's work, of dark spirits work. But so is this guy, because what he's doing is he's taunting you. He's telling you that, you know, that there was codes, there was messages all left for you, wanting you to study more, wanting you to look in. Like, how many people just study and don't actually ever go within and start to come up with the answers? Oh, that's too ego. That's who does he think he is? This is the program. Once you go within, once you start listening, all the information's there, because you've been here millions of times, in the sense of you are part of the ocean. You are a drop of everything, all knowledge of the spirit world. You can tap into that. That's that. They don't want you to do that or to be that. What he might be talking about maybe is that what I've just said was written in scrolls, and they want you to know that. So ultimately, that's why I'm always doing videos where I try and snap you out of the things that you enjoy being pulled into. Like, I made a video, right? And I talked about the top 3 crystals in the world. The top 3 crystals in my world is Cavensite from Pune. The next one is called Moldavite. And the third one is you. I always try and make you understand that, to shake you off, because we're always looking for something to give us the answer. We're always looking for something to protect us. We're always looking for somebody to make our life, instead of making our own life, protecting ourselves, coming up with the answers, doing things for ourselves. That's why we're here. So to a degree, I do listen to stuff like this, but I always have this overriding message that this isn't the answer. Nobody has the answer on the black screen. Your path and your journey is unique to you. No healer, no psychic can tell you anything that you don't know yourself, and that you don't have the knowledge and the ability to find it. What a good psychic and a good healer and a good guide and mentor should always do is give you ideas, give you understandings, give you, let's say, a book to, hey, just read that. Why? Because it might help you open up to see things that you haven't seen before. It's not a book that says, oh, look, I'm Mark Bajerski. I am the only guy who knows how to read flowers. Right? Bullshit. there's too many people in this world want to capture something and say it's mine, and if you want to learn it, then you can't, because I'm the only one, and really you need me if you want that. And again, be wary of those people, because they're not good light souls.
Were actually hidden in the first place, and they were hidden. This isn't debated. I promise it's not conspiracy.
And I'd just like to say something else. If I was talking to you, look, mate, let me tell you something, right? I'm no genius. I know you are. I know your brain is more powerful than probably most of humanity. But let me tell you something. We've had plenty of scrolls. We've had Dead Sea Scrolls. We've had, oh my God, like the list goes on of these amazing scrolls that are all over the world that have been brought out and have been read. What are you saying? You're trying to say that there's something out there that we don't know about, and that nobody knows, and you're going to give us the answer. Like, the answers are already out there. They're already in here to be found. There's nothing that you can present that 1,000 other people have presented over the years of these texts and scrolls. It's all it is just, it's just content, psychobabble, regurgitated. That's all I feel from these people, just getting you excited. What's the answer? Tell me what the answer is. Tell me what the code is. I mean, it's almost like this guy knows what humans want, and 95% want that excitement, want to follow that, want to know what's happening next on Coronation Street or whatever it is. It's like, we need to break that. And I think there's only 5% who can. The 95%, forget it. They just want to eat, drink, sleep, and scroll and listen to this all day. I do find things fascinating, but I always come back to the same place. You've not really told me anything. You've minced it all up again, and you've got your amazing twist on it, and it sounds really exciting. But what have you really said? Just like QAnon, that documentary they brought out. There's nothing new there. It was just the way it was presented. It was so clever. It was like an MK Ultra program.
Churches and governments.
And I'm not saying he
is
is.
Way older than that. Before we go any further, you need to understand something that almost everybody gets wrong about all these ancient texts, because I know there's a lot of videos out there that talk about them. These ancient texts were not trying to be mysterious. They weren't trying to be poetic. They weren't trying to confuse anybody. They were trying to describe the utterly indescribable by using a human brain and human language.
That's impossible.
That was never designed to grasp any of this at all.
Yeah, well,
that is truly the core problem.
I relate to that.
Language.
I relate to this. I haven't heard that, but I relate to that for
Any
sure.
language is a cage. It's a net.
Agreed.
With holes that are way too wide to catch something that's truly infinite.
Okay, now he's talking. Now I like what he's saying. I've said this time and time again. When you work with energy, you can't write it down. I spend like most of my time writing, like seeing the invisible. Actually, Diary of an Accidental Psychic was so difficult to write because I was trying to use easy words, but to try and put them together and explain the feeling of energy and frequency and knowledge within that. It's impossible. And I believe words are impossible. That's why it's better if you meditate on something. Right. Whenever I share something with you, or this guy shares something with you, if something like, oh, that feels like, go and sit down and meditate on it and listen, because what you receive isn't a language. It's an energy and a frequency that we call download. It's the only word we could use, because the reason why we call it download is because there's so much being given that you trying to relate that back to somebody in words, it could take a week, because it's impossible. And then you get frustrated because you can't explain it. See, children, There's a good one to see that in children. Why do you think children get frustrated? Because they can't say what they feel. It's impossible. That's why they get frustrated.
People who wrote these texts, they knew that. That's why Lao Tzu opens the Tao Te Ching with the most brutally honest sentence in the ancient texts altogether. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. The meaning is, the moment that you try to explain ultimate truth, you've already distorted it and
Totally.
and tried to.
Now I like, now what he's saying, I'm starting to like. That I haven't heard. And I completely 100% agree. As soon as you start speaking about a subject within spirituality, within energy, within frequency and vibration, you've already distorted it, because we've all got our own understanding of experience. So my experience and your experience, this is why I talk about crystals this way. I absolutely sit people down on my crystal 4-day course and say, okay, I'm going to put a crystal in your hand and I want you to explain what you feel with this crystal. So everybody has to close their eyes, and it takes about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. There might be 4 people in the room. Okay. So I switch the music on and I'll take just one crystal. I just use one, which is, let's say it's a smoky quartz. So I put it into first person's hand for 5 minutes. Then I take it out of their hand, put it into the next person's hand, the same crystal, and then the next person's hand after 5 minutes, and the next person. So 4 people, we've done 5 minutes on each people. Then I take the crystal right away, wait a few minutes, and then switch the music off. And then I say, okay, guys, would you contemplate on what you felt and write some key points down of what you felt? Whether it was emotional, whether it was physical, whether it was anything that happened at all, whatever your thoughts were on that crystal, any pain, anything, any happiness, whatever. So the first one starts. Oh, it was amazing, Mark. My hands started tingling straight away. My heart was beating like crazy, and I felt so much joy. I started to cry. Next person, how do you feel? I felt very heavy. My head felt like it was like ready to explode. I got this terrible headache. My eyes were spinning. I just felt weird. The next person, how did you feel? Well, the crystal I had in my hand, my stomach was like, I felt like I wanted to throw up. My stomach felt really, really bad. And I just felt so much pain, and I felt so much sadness. And I said, okay, good. Last person. You know what? I felt my grandma in spirit was next to me, and she was smiling. And I could hear her, and I could smell the roses that she used to love. Okay, well done, guys. So I put 4 crystals next to them. I laid out 4 crystals as if they were looking at the 4, and I'd say, okay, these 4 crystals, which crystal do you think you think was the crystal that I put in your hand? And they were all similar of shape, right? So one could have been like the same shape. It was almost like a pebble, but then I'd have a pebble in rose quartz, amethyst, and citrine. So it was all the same size. So like the first person says, oh, the last person, like, definitely amethyst. This person would say, oh, it was smoky quartz. This person, like, okay. So guys, welcome to the first day of the Pure Energy Crystal Healing Academy course. The crystal that was put into your hand was actually only one, and you all had the same crystal in your hand, and it was the smoky quartz. Now, I took the crystal Bible. Now then, guys, what do you think about the crystal Bible when it says that this smoky quartz does this? They all went. Total silence. Breaking the mold of what we've been programmed to believe. Yeah, but no, calm down. I'm just being observing and being honest, right? That's why I haven't written a crystal book. And when I talk about crystals, the reason why I talk about them, because you might be saying, oh, but you talk about crystals. That's because I take a bunch of crystals and put a certain frequency and energy into them. That's a memory that I put into them crystals for 10 hours, 20 hours, 30 hours. And that's what I hope you get from it. Do you get from it? Not always. You might get something else. That's the beauty about crystals. Crystals are going to be unique to your journey. But anyway, going off on one.
Tried to contain it. Jesus understood this too. He literally tells the disciples that he speaks in parables because most people aren't ready to comprehend the truth directly. They didn't have language for quantum physics and non-duality or consciousness models like.
So all of those things I don't have the brain for, so you'll have to go somewhere else and listen to this guy. I don't know anything about quantum. I don't know anything about what he's talking about, really. I'm just a guy who observes people's suffering, people's happiness, the energy around them, what's happening within them. Is there a force that is within them that shouldn't be there? Quantum, I don't know. You might say, but you do, Mark, but you just don't listen to him, and you're not listening because there's probably so many similarities, and maybe you're right. But all I know is that when I work on a level of healing, and I just want to say this now, when I work on a level of healing, it can happen. This is another thing with healing and healers. Everybody seems to think that if you become a Reiki master, that this is how you should. If you become a pranic healer, this is how if you become a pure energy healer, like the healing that I teach, you've got to be like, for me, there's so many aspects of how healing works. So I'll give you a breakdown, right? I've just got somebody calling. I'm just going to switch it off. Okay, so I'm just going to focus on one person just to explain something. Okay, so I don't know if anybody's in the chat, right? I'm just going to break something down. So there's somebody called Claire. It's like Claire has just said something. Okay, Claire. So if me and you, Claire, were now doing a healing sessions together, because you just said, Mark, I'd love a healing session. I just like to experience it. I don't know what it's about, but I'd love a healing. Would you give me one? This is how I would do it. So I'd first of all say to you, okay, Claire, I want you to just sit comfortably. I want you to feel as comfortable as possible. I don't want you to feel in any pain. So if you're sat up and it's uncomfortable, lay down. So the first and most important thing is for you to be as comfortable as you can. You might have a bad back and there's no way you're in comfort, you're in pain, but do your best to try and find the most comfortable position. Because when physical is the frequency that is vibrating around you, it's hard to feel other frequencies. So I'll give you a great example. If let's say you've got a cut here and it's bleeding like mad, okay? If I scratch you here a little bit, you won't feel it because this is bleeding really bad. So you won't even feel that because you'll be so focused on that. The point being is that a healer wants to try and get you into a comfortable position so that you can then at least start to feel something. And it's always good to feel something. So sometimes not too much, but it's just for your own brain to shut up. So we try and soften and quieten you down, right? So we say, use some oils, hold a crystal, just breathe. But whatever comes into your mind is fine. So if there's loads of chatter in your mind, absolutely fine. If anything leaves your mind, that's absolutely fine too. And if anything comes and goes, that's fine. So what we're doing, we're trying to quieten the brain by saying there's nothing you can be worried about because it's all as it should be, right? That's the next thing I'm going to try and ask you, because sometimes the brain is always rushing, okay? So when the brain says, well, I don't have to worry, I don't have to, if something comes in, it's okay. If something goes, it's okay. So I'm trying to shut the brain down a little bit, okay? But ultimately what I'm saying is whatever happens now, there's nothing you can do to stop it from happening. It's just going to happen, okay? So, which is true. So when I begin the healing and I close my eyes, okay, what I'm first of all doing is I might stand like this and receive energy this way. I'm calling for energy through my hands, which is kind of like an activation. I'm trying to activate my hands because I'm going to use my hands and I'm going to direct that energy through into your room. So a good healer knows that it's important to get the energy right in the room. Now, how can I describe that in words? You ever been to a disco that you didn't want to get up and dance? Remember that when you were a kid? You just didn't want to get up. The energy in that room was shit. And everybody was waiting for the energy to rise. Now, you didn't talk about this. You didn't tell your friend about this. You just thought, it's shit, innit? And then eventually, all of a sudden, somebody would get up, that would be me, and start dancing my socks off. And then everybody felt that energy, saw that energy, and then said, I'm going on there. I'm going to do it too. And then all of a sudden, the energy is buzzing and everybody's dancing and they're like, okay, now you're getting it. Now you're understanding what energy is. Even when you were a kid, you understood, but you didn't because you didn't know how to explain it. I'm just sharing this with you, this knowledge. Well, in your room, I've got to say, it's probably not the best of energy, right? Why? Because the stress, the worries, the fears, you might not have cleansed this week. You might not have cleansed all year. You might have never have cleansed. So there might be residue in there. As a healer, when we go to circle nights, we know, I'm talking about real healers. If you're in a room, we look at the room before we even, I walk out of 50 rooms before I even do one room. Meaning that I'll go to 50 hotels to get the right hotel, to get the right room, because I want the energy as good as I can get it, right? So just like you going for a house, you'll go to look 20, 30 houses. You don't know why, but this is the one. This is the house what I want. Okay. So I'm the same. When I know people are going to come to that room, I want to get this room right. So I want the right room for me that I can feel, I can do this room, no problem. I can get the energy. So you're all sat down and I'm in the center of the room. My job is to now call for the energy of spirit to come in. You can't ask spirit to come in if the energy is bad. So before you arrive, I cleanse the place. I get it ready for spirit to come in. Why? Because spirit vibrates at a frequency which is high. If this room is of low frequency, spirit can't come in. It's that simple. It's true. That is ultimately the truth. There are exceptions, especially if you're hanging off a cliff or there is something that does happen. But ultimately, if you want spirit to flow in that room, again, if you're in a point where you're just about like you don't want to live and you want to die, spirit will come sometimes, and I don't know why that happens, but it does. But ultimately, the room has to be of good energy for spirit to flow freely and do its work, do her work, its work, spirit's work, God's work, the source work. So I'm in the room, and now I'm the guy in the disco. I'm now trying to talk and speak to people and try to bring in this energy. I'm focused on the people at the weakest people. I'm looking at the weakest, the most vulnerable, the ones that are filled with grief or sadness, or the ones which are just in a bad place or jealous at me or come just to, go away and tell everybody bad things. And I'm looking and feeling, and I'm like, none of these things matter to me. I'm here to just do my job. But I'm going to place my hands on certain people's heads as I'm talking and lift them up. I'm trying to change that person's perception of me by sharing something that they'll relate to and go, oh, he ain't that bad, actually. He isn't really what I thought he was. And then they start to change. So I don't need to worry about that woman anymore. But that person over there is filled with grief, and I can feel, right, I'm going to go over and place my hand on them and then start to give peace to them through my hand. It might be 3 or 4 minutes as I'm talking, then I let go. Now she's a lot better. Now she's starting to heal. Now all of a sudden, as I'm talking, within 10 or 15 minutes, within 20 minutes, I can start to see the energy rise. How do I see it? I sometimes feel it, or I sometimes see it. When it's round about my chest, when it hits my chest, I know I can start. Why? Because everybody's sat down and nobody is above my chest. So when it hits my chest, I now know I'm ready to start the healing process. So it's above everybody's head. So that now I know that spirit can flow in this room and it can touch everybody. So you, as a beautiful soul, Claire, the first thing I'm doing is closing my eyes, and I am now sending energy into that room. I fill that room with as good energy as I can through my hands. Once I'm feeling that room filling up, I then slowly close my eyes, and then I start to see your silhouette. I might have seen your face if we're one-to-one, we're doing one-to-one, and I'll close my eyes and see your face. And what I'll do is I will step out of my body, my spirit, and move through into your room, and I will then start to place my hands where I feel you need the healing. Then I don't command anything. I just hope and pray that if the room's strong enough in energy and high vibe, that if I feel spirit coming into the room, I'll start to well up a little bit. I can feel myself welling up because my spirit is close to another spirit, and it feels like love. It feels like joy. It feels like everything's fine. There is no pain. There is no suffering. This is just a beautiful moment. And then we work together. After I feel that whatever needs to be done on my behalf is done, I will come away. And then I will start to breathe again and start to come back to myself. And then so will you, hopefully. And then there's a change. It might be a subtle change, or it might be a big change. That's not for the healer to know. It's not none of my business. What was my business is to try and get the room right, try and make sure that my soul moves through this physical body, and there is no space and time, but come straight to you and start to heal you. And a little bit of hope, a little bit of please. I always ask for I've always done this. I've always asked for, angels, earth angels. I ask for spirit, anybody, my family in spirit. I ask for Shirley to come through. I ask for many people, my mum. I'm always asking for mum, please come through. If it's meant to be, it will be. If I've done a good job and that room is of good energy, they will come through. Does the healing manifest? I think it's 7 days no matter what, but sometimes can last longer when spirit is in the room. You can now argue and say, well, aren't you a spirit? And I'll say, yeah, I am. Well, why is the spirit that comes through more powerful? And I will say, because they are of the spirit world. There isn't like a cord attached. So we're limited as spirits out of the body. We're always pulled back into the body. Whereas the spirit world is connected to the vast energy of the ocean of the spirit world. So the one drop that comes to you is actually the ocean. So you're receiving the ocean energy and this one drop. Although I am part of the spirit world and sometimes I can connect to it, there is a slight difference. And the power of spirit, for me, all I can tell you is just blows me away. And what I hear from my clients over the years is that, my mum was here, Mark. I felt my mum, and I don't really know what to say. Like, yeah, you don't need to say anything. You don't need to say it because you can't say it. And there is no words for it. But whatever that feeling was, hold on to it. Don't talk yourself out of this feeling. Just hold on to it and just be thankful for it. So these are the things that I would say as a healer to you. And to write a book, maybe one day I will write about. I mean, wouldn't you think that a healer would have wrote a book about healing? Wouldn't you think a crystal healer would write a book about crystals? I'm writing a book about flowers and how to read them. I don't know what I'm going to feel pulled to do. I just follow the guidance and I follow the flow and what feels right. There's been many people say, well, it makes more sense. And I'm like, well, I'm not sense. It's not something that drives me. I'm driven by the flow and what feels right. And if it's about what makes sense, then I don't want to do it. That's not who I am. I try and encourage people to follow that, to follow what feels right, because I actually retired at 38 years old, and I realize that now. I wanted to retire at 55 when I was younger. I used to say it when I was an auctioneer, but I realize now I retired when I was 38. Why? Because when I found my path, or when my path found me, I never worked a day. I didn't wake up thinking anything but I couldn't wait to get out of bed. I couldn't wait for my next client to walk up them stairs. I was nervous. Of course I was nervous. I've always got a nervous feeling in me when I'm talking or doing a radio show, when I'm doing a healing session, or when I'm doing a psychic reading. Of course I'm nervous, because the brain, me, it was battered and bruised as a child from teachers and you know, the mock and ridicule of the kids at school, because I didn't fit in right, and I didn't obey, and I didn't read properly. And so I've always, you know, I'm always working on that every day. But the feeling of a client walking out of that room in tears, or just, I could see the change in them. Like, that's not a job. That ain't a job. And to get paid for it at times, which I did, was I paid my mortgage. It's like I'm doing what I want to do and my mortgage is being paid for. Can you imagine? Imagine doing something that you want to get up in. You don't want to go to sleep. You want to sleep quickly. You want to get off so you can wake up in the morning and start again. That was 12 years. I retired when I was 38. I never had stress in my heart. I had love in my heart. I had, like, I'm doing what I was born to do. And now I'm back and I'm doing what I'm born to do. And I'm doing it even stronger. So there's some wonderful things coming up for me. And when you find yourself, when you find your happiness again, when you realize that, you know, you can get bogged down with stuff and things can happen in your life. And when you wake up to all of that, it can be a beautiful moment. And I'm at that beautiful moment now, and I'm excited about my life. I'm excited that it's the first day of the rest of my life, and I've got a long life, and so have you. So we might as well enjoy it. So I wish you a lovely evening. I could go on and we could look at other things, but it's long enough. I think we've done over an hour, right? Have we? Yeah, an hour and 12. Okay, have a beautiful evening, guys, till tomorrow. It's been great catching up with you. Food for thought. Go meditate. Go to Mother Nature. Sit down next to a tree. Pick up a flower. Look at it and listen to what it says to you. And if you can and you don't get it, then, hey, this is why I wrote this. Enjoy. The Ancient Art of Flower Reading. Available at Mr. Bajerski's family website. And the girls are ready to wrap and pack. They're all there now. They're excited. So there's I don't know how many orders are ready to be shipped off. The cards are coming. I finished writing them and sent them all your cards with your messages on. So yeah, hopefully in the next day or so, you should get your book. But a few people have received their book now. So I hope you enjoy it. And that's it. Take care, everybody. Till tomorrow. Take care. Have a lovely day.